Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we'll continue with part 5 of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe project. Okay, so in the previous lesson, we spent some time working on the side glass and also the molding over here and a little bit of the shoulder. But I did notice that there is a little bit of discrepancy between the canvas images because right now we basically fit it to the side view. But if you look at the top view, it's not matching as accurately as I had hoped. Not only does it not match on the top, it also doesn't match on the front from the front view as well. So I'm going to pick some points to see if the locations are okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I think I'm going to pick a few spots for in which to basically act as a reference. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to move all the surfaces into a new layer so that I can just hide them for a second. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a curve like this and go to the front view and maybe pick some lines that might stand out a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with the headlamp. I'm just going to pick this point like this and just compare it to the location here. Okay, so looks like it's pretty close. If you notice, I basically picked the outside line of the headlamp and it looks like it's actually matching quite well, which it's this point, so that's good. And let me just maybe pick a line on the hood like this, and I'll just go to the front view. Looks like that's a good match as well. So that looks pretty close. Okay, so the next point I'm going to pick is the fore aft location. So let's go ahead and pick a point here. I'm going to just pick a point here and I'm just going to go straight up. Okay, so looks like there's a little discrepancy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this point in front of the side mirror and I'm just going to go straight down, but this point matches. So let's see, if I were to put it this way, no, that's actually going in the wrong direction, so I should actually make it forward. Well, I guess that's pretty close. Okay, so if that's the case, I think, well, actually, you know what? Let's just do another check. I'm going to compare it against the body length of the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this point right here, the end of the trunk, and I'm going to just go straight. Okay, so it looks like this definitely does need to be adjusted. So I think what's happening is this curve should be at this line or vice versa. So I think what I'm going to do is right now, yeah, I think it's lacking in length a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go to a side view. I'm going to pick this canvas over here and I think I'm going to scale it up a little bit so that the length matches. So that should make everything match. So if I were to push this outboard a little bit by that much, now it's, well, it's not perfect, but it's, let me just match it here. Okay, so it's getting pretty close. Although that does mean I would have to adjust a few more things, but because it's a scale, it's not going to affect this part as much, but let's try to get it close as possible. So what I'm going to do is, well, let's get everything back and I'm going to put everything in the default layer, back in the default layer. And I'm just going to delete the unused layer and let's move the wheel flat a little bit rearward like this so that everything matches. Now when I begin, I should have made sure that everything matches, but it looks like well, it's a mistake on my part. So let's try to get back to where everything needs to be. Okay, so I don't think that affects the front as much, and as you can see, everything basically matches up nicely. However, I think I can probably just push this back a little bit, so let's do that. So I'm just going to push it back like this. The front glass line, I think I can probably push that back too, just a little bit, not too much. And from the front, from the top view, they should at least get it close to here. Now, I don't know why the shape is like this. It probably means that I probably need to push this out a little bit, but I'm kind of hesitant to do so. Well, let's try it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this section out like this, and hopefully that'll help that this it should help with this line. So looks like it got deleted, so let's go ahead and project this again. So I think it's a little bit closer than before. However, what I would prefer to do is actually keep this line as vertical as possible, because I think it is supposed to follow the A-pillar line. So actually I'm going to turn that off. Turn this off. I think, well, actually let's bring this image up. Not this one. Let me just bring this one up. Actually, that doesn't show. Okay. So if you see this one here, you'll see that this is supposed to be a blend between this this surface and the A-pillar. And to be honest, if this is horizontal, if this is more horizontal than needed, basically this is going to float. So the transition between these surfaces are not going to be that great. That said, however, I don't know if it's just the inaccuracy in the canvas or if it's something, if it still can be matched. However, the location, well, let's try to get it as close as possible. So what I'm going to do is, well, I think that one I'm going to leave for now, and I'm going to check on this one too, because you'll see that from the front view, there's a little bit of discrepancy over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can match this a little bit better, and it looks like there's some opportunity to do so. If you look at this curve over here, you will see that this is a little bit more inboard compared to the canvas. So I'm going to pull it out. That should help with this location over here, even if it's a little. Well, it's a tiny bit, but at least it's something that we can match. Okay, so that should help. I don't think I'm going to push this out that much, so I'm going to just push the middle section in so that we can get back to the body side. And actually, okay, so this is the fender area, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm just going to push this out because it is supposed to be a separate line, although this looks kind of weird. So I'll have to dig into this a little bit more, and we'll check back to that later. Okay, so I did push this out. Let's go ahead and push it a little bit more out, and that should get us a little bit closer here. Not by much, but it's better than nothing, so let's keep it that way. And I'm just going to check it from the side views also, so that we can be confident that it is a good line. So let's just move it up a little bit. Okay, so overall, I actually don't think the location of the canvas is that wrong. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue on and start building some surfaces. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I honestly don't think the highlight's too bad. I know that it is becoming horizontal and there's a little bit of sweep over here, but it could be intentional. And I do see, as you can see over here, it's you'll see that there's a little bit of transition. It does start to bend over here, especially as it goes towards a front fender. If you can see the sort of the lines from the, I don't know if this is supposed to be cloud or whatever, but it does a transition like this. So I think this one so far is okay. Now, it doesn't mean that it's 100% correct. However, I do see that it could work, so we'll have to find out a little bit later. Okay, that said, however, I do have a few lines to create. So if you see this image over here, you'll see that there's a sort of a bone line right here, highlight line. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this curve over here like this. Just going to bring it down. Now the location of this is not exactly evident in the canvas image, so that is something I need to sort of eyeball it, but at least we got a few lines that we can play with, so let's do that. Another line that I'm going to concentrate on is this feature line over here. Looks like it's connecting from the rear fender to the front. So I'm going to copy and paste this line again, like this, and I'm just going to put it right here. Although I don't think this is visible right here. Okay, so for this one, I don't think I have a side view. I'm going to see. Okay, so for this one, I think the line is, it should be connected somewhere here, but I wish there was a line on the canvas to reference this. The only problem is we have the line on the front, but we don't have a line on the back. So let's just estimate it based. I wish that there was a cut line over here, but it looks like that doesn't exist in there either. I wish that there was a dead side view, but it does look like it's supposed to continue on to this line over at the back. So maybe I'll just use that as a basic reference for the shape or the location of the line. So I'm just going to point it that way. Hopefully it's correct. I probably need to find a reference later for that one. So I'm just going to, I mean, design wise, it is a very logical to have a line that's connecting from here to here. But I don't have a line to reference on. I think I'm going to get it close, but not too close, because right now I do think that this is where comparing to the height of the wheel flat and comparing that to this line over here, I do think that's a little bit, could be a little bit lower. We'll have to see. So I think I might just lower it just a little bit, and basically that'll be our feature line. Okay. So let's create some surfaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a freeform blend. So I'm just going to go freeform blend. It's going to position on both sides. I'm going to pick this curve, and I'm going to pick this curve like this, and I'm going to just give it a little bit of crown. So let's go ahead and set to proportional, and I'm going to just start with a flat crown like this. I'm going to make sure that the direction is good. So let's flip it over. Where did the manipulator go? Looks like it disappeared. And that's not working. Okay. Well, typical Alias, but that's okay. So I'm just going to hit this again. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that the manipulator is going the right way. Okay, I'm just going to change it back to 0.01. And with this one, it does need to come out a little bit. I think it's this line that I have to hit. We'll figure that out later, but it is a little bit more proud than this shorter line over here. So let's try to get that out like this, and we'll try to see if that is the correct one. Now from the canvas, let's go ahead and hide this for a second. It looks like it could be the line. Well, let's go ahead and put some surfaces down. Okay, so we have a line over here that's going to basically allow us to control the bone line, and let's just see where it lands. It looks like it's pretty close in location, but I would have to probably build more surfaces in order to make sure that that is the line that we need to hit. And now let's create the surface for this one. So what I'm going to do is, well, first of all, we know that this line over here is hitting the front and the rear flat, or rear wheel flat. So I'm going to try and get it over there first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's use extend first. I'm going to extend this curve over here like this, and I'm going to extend it over here like that. And now let's use a stretch tool to hit it right against the wheel flat over here. Looks like it's a little bit short, so I'm going to, oh, okay. Let me just set this up. Projected intersection on, snap to center on. Actually, no, I'm just going to change the snap division to 2, and I'm not going to have the snap to center on. Okay, so now let's see if I can get those lines. So I'm going to hit it right here, and I'm going to hit one right here. Okay, so it looks like this one probably needs to go up just a little bit. So let's push it up like this, and I'll probably just little adjustment there. Okay, that said, however, if you notice on the side view, well, not exactly side view, if you look at the image, you'll notice that there's a little bit of hook on this side, which means that this actually needs to be pushed in a little bit inward before hitting these spots. So I'm just going to push it in just a little bit like this. So that's nice and even. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this curve over here, and I'm going to push it in a little bit further. Now, if you notice this surface, there's a bone line right here that's flowing through here. Oh, there's a feature line, which is this line over here. And there's a bone line right here through the middle. I wonder if it's yes, it's a little bit easier to see on this one. So we have a feature line right here. We have a bone line right here, which is represented by this curve. And we have a surface that's facing down a little bit, and we have a little light catcher. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to what I did was I copied and pasted a curve, and now I'm going to just create a freeform blend using this one. So I'm just going to hit the surface like this, and I'm going to say default for now. Crown value is good, and I think that's, well, I think this is a good start. The highlight is nice and straight. However, it probably needs a little bit of adjustment. And as you can see over here, you'll see that there is the light catcher is getting a little bit bigger as it goes towards the rear, which means I probably need to push this in a little bit inboard as well. Now, how much inboard? That'll depend on, well, we don't exactly have a reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a curve like this, extend it to the side, and I am going to make this a degree 2 like this. And let's go ahead and use the stretch tool, just like that. And I'm going to create a rail. So it's going to be 1 and 1 like this. And as you can see, we are able to get a little more depth, I guess, towards the rear. But I do think that we need to make adjust the shape a little bit. Now, before I do that though, I do want to make sure that everything is working. So first thing I'm going to do is, I think this probably has a little bit more crown. So I'm going to add a little bit more like this. And when you're at this stage, you want to keep everything somewhat flexible. So you just want to make sure the history is on, because there are a lot of things to adjust. So you just want to make sure that everything's light, everything's adjustable, because, well, basically you have to match the proportions, and there's no exactly 100% correct reference that we can just use to say, yes, this is supposed to be like this, yeah, and yes, no, or no, this isn't supposed to be like that. So you just want to keep everything nice and light, and let's make some adjustments. Okay, so I do think, well, let's go ahead with the front. I do see the highlight is diving down like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a fender, and let's actually check a couple more images to see. This thing, I think I can probably just keep it straight. We'll have to see. So what I'm going to do is, for the front fender, or I guess a connection to this point, I'm just going to strike a curve just up and down. Actually, we can probably use this. I think this was used to check the height over here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to project it from the side like this. Just nice and straight. I'm going to trim this portion over here, and I'm going to use the freeform blend. It's going to G2 on one side, it's going to position on the other. I'm just going to hit this point right here. Now, when you're doing this, you want to start, actually, I'm just going to do connect ends over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to modify perimeter, needs to be turned off. And I'm going to turn modify range on, so that I can hit these points over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. Well, the highlight direction is correct. However, I think it might be a little bit severe. So we'll probably have to adjust it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, well, I think this probably gives you a pretty good representation of the light catcher that could form with the shape. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to push this. I'm just going to grab the CV. I'm not going to use a stretch tool. And I'm just going to pull it out a little bit like this. Okay, and as you can see over here, the light catcher has a little bit of crown this way. And right now it looks a little bit, it looks pretty flat over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a CV in the middle and I'm just going to push it inboard like this. And actually, before I do that, I want to make sure that this shape is close to this one. So let's go ahead and take a look at from the top view. Yes, there's a little bit of difference in the direction, but overall, I think the shape is very similar. So I think that should be okay. All right. So I'm just going to push this CV in a little bit. Like that. I'll probably have to do a little bit of adjustment later. I think we probably want to lean it. Well, I think this should be okay. We'll see. All right. So I don't think I want to do too much. And well, the highlight is not too bad. However, I do want to make it a little bit softer. So let's go ahead and pull this one a little bit more outboard. So I'm just going to pull it up like that, and that's going to make it a little bit flatter. However, I think there is a little bit of discrepancy between the section of the wheel flat, and as you can see, it's the body side has a little bit more crown than the wheel flat. So I'm going to make this a little bit flatter. Although I think I do need to a little bit more conscious of the wheel flat shape and the body side. So we'll have to do a comparison later. But for now, I think I'm just going to make it just a little bit flatter so that it's a little bit more even. I think that looks a little bit better. So you'll see that the highlight going down is a little bit different than before. It's not as sharp. I think that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so that is good over there, and I think I'm going to develop some surface on the surface below before we proceed. So let's grab this curve again, and I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'm just going to bring it down like this. And you will see that there's a feature line over here, so I think I might do that one first. So let's make the curve. I think I need to probably make the curve a little bit flat. But for this one, we actually do have a reference line. Although I don't know why it's so stylized, because this is supposed to be just connected as one line. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to use extend to get it close over here. And same thing over here. I'm going to use a stretch tool to hit this point. Like this. And let's take a look, because I think, okay, so I do definitely see a break over here. So instead of hitting the inboard side, I think I actually need to extend the curve to the outboard side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this curve, extend it all the way through. And let's go ahead and use the stretch tool to make sure that it's hitting over here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to lower it. Actually, for this one, I think I can just use stretch. Right. So for this one, however, you'll see that this is actually a little bit outboard. So what I'm going to do is, now that we hit this point, I'm just going to push it out just a little bit like that. And again, I'm going to be doing the same thing that we did for this one. Actually, I can probably just copy and paste this curve. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste over here. I'm just going to put it down here, and using the rail tool, just going to create a surface like that. And basically that's going to tell us where this relatively how outboard it is. And let's go ahead and let's grab this curve. I'm going to push it in just a little bit. Oh, using my middle mouse button like this. And I'm going to create a surface for this one as well. So using freeform blend, I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to grab, well, let's see if I can grab the curve below like this. And for this one, it's going to position on both sides. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of crown. Okay, so right now it kind of looks ridiculous, but that's okay. That said, I probably need to determine where this is going to go in relation to the surface over here. And I do feel like I probably need to break this one up. So as you can see over here, there's a little bit of, well, actually, I feel like this needs to be broken up into couple of pieces, because right now there's a fender here, but there is a break here, which means that this surface, I probably need to break it over here so they can sort of dive in, and it's going to connect with a fender over here, and I'm probably going to do the same break over here as well. So let's give it a try. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I do think that this surface needs to be pushed in quite a bit. So let's grab the stretch tool. Let's see. I'm just going to push it in like that. Actually, I do think that it probably needs to push it in quite a bit, but we'll have to see. Also, okay, let's go ahead and now I think, well, this is supposed to connect, but I don't know if this is supposed to connect with a sort of a wheel flare. So I'll have to dig into it a little bit, but let's go ahead and just put the surface in. So I'm just going to project it from Y, and I'm going to trim it, and let's go ahead and use a freeform blend. It's going to connect here, it's going to G2, and it's going to position over here. This one, I'm going to say default here and here. This one, I'm probably just do connect ends. And let's see how that looks. Now, shape-wise, I think it looks pretty good. However, I think it might have a sort of a reverse peak. So I probably need to push the whole curve in, or change the wheel flat. I think I'm going to hold off on the decision a little until a little bit later. Okay, so let's move on to the rear. I do definitely feel like this probably needs either a theoretical, or it needs to be, there needs to be a surface that goes all the way through. Let's start with something a little bit simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this curve. I'm going to just strike a curve on surface straight up and down like this on both sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say trim here and here. I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the front. So I'm just going to connect the dots from here to here. Connect ends is fine. It's going to have a multiple spans. That's okay. I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm also going to bring this side down. Oh, it's a little bit slow. That's fine. Now, this does give us a pretty good shape of this, I guess, a sort of hooking in, but I think I probably need to refine the patch shape a little bit, because I don't know if this is going to work with others. So let's just leave it like that for now, and let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to hit this point and hit this point. I'm going to say connect ends, but the only problem is I wish modify range was already here before I have to do this one. Okay, let's go to the side view. I'm just going to match it on this one, and I'm going to match this one here. I think the overall shape is good. However, I do think that we probably need to move it a little bit forward. So I'll probably have to do that. Well, overall, I think pretty good progress so far. I probably need to add a little bit more crown onto this surface over here, just towards the rear, and we'll probably have to do a little bit of check on that. Okay, so good progress so far. I think this is probably a good point to stop. So we'll continue in the next one. Okay, so that is it for part 5. We will continue in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching.